Frugalsim videos are powered by Jetline Systems.
Hello YouTube, this is Frugal, and we're in Sanford with the Leonardo Fly the Maddog X because, now I know I've already done a video on this, but I did a video on this the way I normally do jetliners, which is FS to crew helping me out. Oh my goodness, Sanford weather. It keeps raining and stopping, not sure what's going, look, now it's stopped. But anyway, we'll deal with that. But I did the Leonardo Maddog video the way I normally do jetliners, which is I fired up FS to crew, which is the most realistic way to fly these things. It's a virtual co-pilot. Nobody ever flies these things on their own. But you know what? I am so enamored with this aircraft. It's a bit like the NGX. I really want to dive in and learn everything there is to learn about it, which got me to thinking. Over the years, I've had a number of questions, or I've had a number of you ask the same question, which is, given a study level aircraft, which this is, how do you study it? How do you learn it? Well, the first thing I typically do is, oh my God, that was scary. Everything went black. The first thing I typically do is fly a circuit. Now, I did this once before with the Poseidon, the Navy version of the 737 NGX from PMDG. I'm going to do it again here. So what I've done is I've looked at the manuals and I've figured out, looking at the FCTM, there is a manual called the FCTM, which is the Flight Crew Training Manual. You go look at that. You can download it. I don't think it's included with the Leonardo Fly the Maddog. I did hunt around with the Googles, and I hunted around and I found it. And the FCTM explains to you the typical flows and operation of the aircraft through all phases of flight. Those phases obviously being starting up, then taxiing, lining up, takeoff, climb, cruise, descent planning, descent, approach, and then landing. So work through the FCTM. Look at what it says for the main ones you want, which are takeoff, climb, cruise, descent, approach, and landing, and then try to do them in a simple circuit. And I'm not there yet, but I'll show you how that works with this. My God, the weather wasn't like this when I did this the other day. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put the parking brake on. It's already on. So we'll pop up here, we'll go to the Maddog menu, and we'll do ready to fly. So the aircraft now is configured, ready to fly. We're not going to worry about doing cold and dark and all that stuff. Now, I'm also not going to worry about ATC or anything like that. So I'm just going to press B, set my barometric pressure, which sets the correct altitude. Now, I don't really have a route, but we will use the CDU down here, and we'll say that, well, we'll set up our initial position, obviously, and our route is going to be Kilo, Sierra, Foxtrot, Bravo, which is Sanford, to Kilo Sierra Foxtrot Bravo, Sanford. We are taking off on runway 27 right. And feel free, by the way, if you want to do this, if you have the Maddog or indeed any other heavy jet that you're learning how to fly, you can do the same thing. Set the date to, I think it was the 26th at 7 o'clock in the evening at KSFB, runway 27 right, and you'll get pretty much the same weather and be able to follow along. Now, we don't have a route, but what we can do is we can go departure arrival. Arriving in Sanford, ILS 27 right, UX FIM is our final fix. We'll click on route, activate, execute. Look at the legs. There's a hold point here, which we're going to get rid of. So we'll move you to me up there, execute. Now we need to go into the performance data. Now I did do the planning. There's a load manager included with the Maddog, which gives you all the load and all that good stuff. So I have done all that. I do have a piece of paper next to me, which I'll enter right now. So we're going to performance. My reserve fuel, I don't really care, more than one. My zero fuel weight, 98.1 thousand. And my fuel schedule, 13.8. Now, this is important, /A. As I work through these things, I will inevitably come across, as I work through these flights, these little circuits, learning how to fly these study aircraft, I will inevitably come across things that I don't understand. Now, I know I need to put in 13.8 /A. I don't know what the /A is, so I don't know what this schedule on the fuel in perf init is. So I'll make a note and I'll check that later, and that's how I start to acquire more knowledge. And initially, when you first do these circuits, obviously, there's a lot of things you don't know, so you make a note and you come back and you acquire the knowledge and try again. Takeoff. We need to know our takeoff speeds. Press shift 1. I'm going to get rid of the yoke, by the way. Here's our speeds. So 124 is V1, V-rotate is 131, and V2 is 140. Now, looking at the FCTM, I know that our initial climb is going to be 140 plus 10, or V2 plus 10. So we'll go on up here. Whoops, we'll press the right button. Go on up here. And we'll set our speed here, 150. Now, I do have Navigraph charts. I highly recommend you all get Navigraph chart subscription. Very, very helpful. And on Navigraph charts for Sanford, 27 right. The ILS is 110.15. So we'll put in here 110.15, and the course is 275. We'll wind this all the way down to 275. Takes a little while. Dum 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 dum. There we go. 275. We are going to set a heading hold after takeoff of 275. So we're going to fly runway heading, and it's going to be a longer than normal circuit. I'm not going to take off and turn immediately and all that stuff. I really want to get the hang of the various phases. So what do I need to do, or what would my co-pilot do in each phase of flight? So we probably will extend the outward leg before we turn back. It gives you a little bit of time to think. 2000, whoops, is going to be our cruising altitude. We'll pull that and set this in here. What else can we do? Well, let's pop on down here. Let's look at our cruise, or our climb. We're climbing on up to 2000. I don't think the Maddog here is going to like that. Oh, it actually did. Look at that. Cruise altitude, or climb altitude to cruise of 2000. It actually took that. I didn't think it would. I'm going to get rid of my V speeds. Check down here. We are all set to go, so TARA is all set down here, and we're in RTO, for aborted takeoff, and that is all armed. If we look down here, we'll notice the speed brake is armed. Now, reading the FCTM, I know that what I need to do is I need to stabilize my engines at 1.42-ish EPR. A lot of the stuff I found reading the FCTM in the Maddog is done based on EPR as opposed to speeds. You know, how the aircraft is configured for a certain amount of engine power will affect the speeds that you're getting. It kind of flies itself. You'll see a little bit of that as we progress on this, but that's kind of important. So anyway, stabilize this at roughly 1.42 EPR. Once it's there, hit auto throttle. That will put us up to takeoff power, and we will glide on down the runway. Now at V2, we are not going to be following the flight director. What we're going to do is smoothly rotate up to 20 degrees of pitch until we get positive rate of climb, gear up, then we can start following the flight director. Then, at 400 feet above the ground, we will establish climb power. We will probably go heading hold at that point, which is clicking on this button. And then as we get to above 1,000 feet, we're going to bring the nose down, start picking up some speed. So I'll wind the speed up here from 150 to about 250. And as we get into the cruise, then we should be stable around about 250 knots, heading this way at 2,000 feet. No need to hit the cruise power there. I think that's about it. Lots to do, but this is the idea. I got to stress again, I'm not going to get everything right here. That's not the point. The point of these is this is how I study a study level aircraft. So I try to do common things. Long circuits that cover all phases of flight are a very useful way of getting acquainted with what you need to do in those phases of flight. You practice again and again and again until there are no more questions, basically, and you can do it without even thinking. Then we'll start doing the longer versions, the longer flights, and so on and so on. Anyway, with all that done, let me increase power here to 1.42 EPR. Now I have noticed this is... Yeah, we know. This is the other thing you notice, is you notice how the aircraft responds, because you're doing most of this stuff manually. We're not going to be using autoflight today. So you see the engines kind of want to jump on me, which is a little bit... takes a bit of getting used to. Right, brakes off.
Brake.
There we go. Brakes off. Auto throttle got pressed. Takeoff thrust is set. We're going to leave the throttles alone. It will call out clamp, which means the throttles are no longer being controlled by the auto throttle at that point. They are clamped. All the auto throttle servos are clamped until I... There we go. Tell them what to do in a few minutes.
80 knots.
80 knots. Cross-checked. We are at 80 knots. Everything's green. A bit of a crosswind.
V1. Rotate.
Alright, rotate. So keep pulling smoothly, 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 all the way up to 20 degrees of pitch. Ignore the flight director.
Positive rate.
Gear up. That's 100 feet now. Climbing like a train at this point. So we will go climb thrust, and we will set heading
Gear
hold.
up. Lights out.
So climb thrust is now set.
Climb
We are on
thrust is
heading
set.
hold. Now we'll start to wind the speed up. And we'll bring the aircraft's nose down. Going to trim it. That's without annoying noises. And as we trim it, we're going to bring in the flaps and the slats. 1, 2. Went a little bit too far there. Now I'm following the flight director, but I have it all completely wrong.
Flap 0.
This is why we do these things. It gives you a good feeling of how the aircraft's going to behave. Gives you some hands-on time with the aircraft. Using automation, but not auto-flight. You know, so letting the cockpit tools guide you on where you should be and what you should be doing. You get a good feel for how the aircraft responds, all the stuff that you need to do. We can go cruise power at this point. And it's just a generally very, very good way of getting comfortable with the aircraft. So we're on the right heading. We're just trying to stabilize now at 2,000 feet, which we've got. Pretty good, right? Looking beautiful out there, by the way. By the way, scenery today is Rex Skyforce 3D with Orbex FTX Global, with ASCA, so Active Sky Cloud Art, and with Active Sky for Prepared, and with MTEX. I have a ton of stuff running in here, getting ready to do fully loadeds, which many of you will be very happy to hear. All right, so let's do a right-hand pattern. So we're going to turn 90 degrees, which is going to put us around to 005. Now, to do that, I'm going to increase the rate of bank, the bank limiter from 15 degrees to 25. We'll wind this up to 005. Do have some turbulence here. We'll start banking over to follow the flight director now. Watching that horizontal bar so we don't lose or gain altitude too much. Obviously, the first few times you do this, and I do this, it is going to be a little bumpy. Things are going to waver a little bit. So far, we're looking good. You can actually click on that, obviously, and pop it out. Get a much better view. So I am actually not squared up here. Let's trim. There we go. Try to get better. Whoa. Yeah, I'm way under now. Try not to chase it too much. That's good. Really, really hands-on. So lots of adjustments here into the yoke to try to hold a good picture on the flight director bars there and try to stay on the right profile despite all the turbulence that we're getting from the typical Florida stormy afternoon weather, or early evening weather in this case. Just get established at 005 and then we'll turn downwind, which is going to be 095. Whoa, there we go. We're pretty much there now. So let's go ahead now and turn 095. A lot of people ask me as well, do you fly with a joystick or a yoke? I tend to use the right thing for the right aircraft. So obviously right now I'm using my Virtual Fly yoke, yoke of the yoke. Which I adore. The cool thing about using a yoke is you can fly with one hand and you have a hand free with the mouse to do things like twiddling MCP knobs, as I was just doing. That's a good reason actually to get a yoke. It does let you do two things at once, which is very, very helpful. I've had a few questions as well. How is the Jetline PC doing? All Frugal Sim videos obviously are powered by Jetline. You can see how it's doing. It's perfect. Love this PC. Everything is maxed out. Tons of weather, tons of effects. It's beautiful. No problems at all. Gone are my days of worrying about frame rates. Highly recommend it if you have the ability or the opportunity. All right, so now we are downwind. So I'm going to get this thing leveled off. I'm going to show you some cool stuff here. I was mentioning that the aircraft can be flown on EPR, right? So, watch this. Although we're downwind, a little bit bumpy, I'm going to turn the auto throttle off. I'm going to adjust my throttles for 1.25 EPR. That will now, if I can hold it, and it's very tricky to set the throttles in the right place. If I can hold 1.25 EPR, that will configure the aircraft at the appropriate speed all the way down to the ground, because as we start to increase drag, it will slow down properly. Basically, like I said, it almost flies itself. It's great. So you can see our speed is currently 250 down here and dropping, which is what we want. Let's put the slats out. Slats are out. So I'm going to try to keep this thing trimmed up here. It will decrease the range on my map, by the way. We might as well pop that open as well, and we can see where we're at. Oops, climbing. Keep an eye on that. So you're going to start seeing the speed will start coming down now with the slats out to about 210, which is great. And as we get lined up, we'll put the gear out, we'll put the rest of the flaps out, the speed will start coming down towards where it should be for landing, which is going to be about let's take a look here, 125. It really does configure itself. It's such a beautiful aerodynamic profile, the MD-80. It's a joy to fly. The reason I have, oh my god, the weather today is terrible. The reason I have the map open here is we can see when we pass the airport. And then we'll start turning and manage that final phase. That noise is the trim. What I'm doing is I'm pulling the yoke to get the flight director where it should be. and then trimming until I can let go of the yoke, like that. Glide slope just came alive, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to completely fly past it. Just trying to stay at roughly 2,000 feet despite all the turbulence that we have at this point. And there is quite a lot. Now the next note that I have already made is I don't know how to arm the auto brake system at this point. I keep trying to arm it and it just doesn't want to know. I don't know what I'm missing, so I've made a note of that. That's another thing I need to look up. You can if you want post the comments about how to do it, but this is what I do when I'm learning. As I find stuff that flummoxes me, I'll make a note and then go and hit the manuals and try to figure it out that way. So don't worry, I will get it. I'm just explaining how I do it in these videos. Similarly, I've turned the auto throttle off. We have a flashing auto throttle disconnect there. I want to get rid of that flashing. Don't know how. That's another thing that I'll look up as well. All right, so we're going to keep on passing the airport now. We're going to pass this fix as well, which is the fix that we actually want to be at to land. We'll hold the aircraft roughly 2,000 feet. Trying to stay on course. Beautiful visual effects, by the way, from TFDI's. What is that? Real water? I don't know what that is. But TFDI's rain effects on the window. True glass. Real glass, true glass. Very, very cool, whatever it is. Love it. Alright, so we are now, I guess, a beam of that fix. And you can notice the speed has come down now to around 210, which is fabulous. Let's set our course now, 185. And as we turn around to 185, going to try to maintain our altitude. Try to keep everything squared up the way it should be. It's tricky. Expect it to be, and we will arm the localizer. Expect it to be tricky. We're learning. I'm learning. But digging it. This aircraft flies so well. I really do. I've got to stress, and I did with the Poseidon video, I have to stress, if you've got some of these ultra complex study level aircraft, be they jets or even study level prop aircraft, really try to just do a circuit like this. Just try to do a simple circuit the way it should be done. Try to do it the way it should be done. As in, I'm not probably doing it the way it should be done, but try to. You'll get a good feel for how the aircraft flies. You'll get a great view of all the systems. You'll learn so much. And every time you get flummoxed by something, make a note. And then you can go hit the manuals after you land or crash and learn how to do the bit that flummoxed you. It's a wonderful way of learning these aircraft without just poring over manuals for months and months on end, which, to be frank, if you do that, you'll probably forget most of the stuff anyway. It's a great way to actually just jump onto the flight deck, jump into the cockpit, and start getting a feel for the aircraft, you know, getting your money's worth, really. All right, so we are turning now onto the localizer, which is not the ILS. If I were to enable ILS at this point, the flight director would have me be going a little bit to the left, because the ILS is a very narrow beam, so it's treating it not as such a narrow beam, which puts us on roughly the right course that we want. So what I can do now, I'm going to put the next stage of flaps down. You can see the glide slope's coming down, so we'll arm the ILS now, and then gear down. Let's get rid of some of these displays. Let's put some more flaps out. And again, I'm not adjusting the power. I'm leaving it at that 1.25 EPR. And you will notice that as I increase the flaps now all the way down to full, everything is absolutely perfect. I will arm the speed brake at this point. Oh, it already was armed. Look at that. And go back to my centered view. Okay, so I'm a little bit low following the flight director, but overall looking good. Speed is coming down nicely. Now, for my friend Paul's advice, who has tens of thousands of hours flying the actual MD-80, don't worry too much about the speed, just worry about that EPR and your descent profile. Now, you're aiming to be a stabilized approach, which means no adjustments to speed, pitch, or course by 1,000 feet. Now, we're at 1,400 feet. We are dropping quite rapidly, trying to get us on a stabilized approach, and I think I'm going to do it, albeit, there we go, I'm stable. And we're at 1,200 feet. I'm not making dramatic adjustments to the pitch, to the course, definitely not to the power. I'm actually leaving the power completely alone, letting it stay at 1.25 EPR. So yeah, we have a stable approach. We're good. I'm going to follow the flight director now, or the ILS beams all the way down. We are a little fast, but it's not a problem. The cool thing with the MD-80 is it bleeds speed very, very well indeed. It's not unusual for pilots to just do what I'm doing right now, as I understand it, in the MD-80, because it can. As we get over the threshold, I will actually drop the power. That will drop some more speed. You can already see the speed starting to come down again now, towards 160.
500.
A little bit high. Alright, so I'm going to start killing the power a little bit now.
400.
And you will see the speed will rapidly
300.
drop. So will our rate of descent.
200.
There's the speed coming down, about 155 now, 150. Trying to keep it squared up.
100.
Trying to get a bit of flare in here.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
And down. Alright, reverses up. Whoa. Now again, I didn't have the auto brake set up, so I'm trying to manually brake, which is why we're weaving a little bit there. As we get under 80 knots now. Reverses off. Just use the brakes now. And we're good to go. Not bad, huh? Let's look at a replay of that and I'll show you what it looked like. It's actually pretty good, I think. So, analysis, instant replay. Let's look at the last, I don't know, 120 seconds of that. Great. And we will jump. Yes, we know. We'll jump into the nearest tower, KSFB, and you'll see exactly what that profile looked like. So once again, I know I've said it a few times, but just to stress, this was not a video of Frugal showing this is how you land an MD-80. It actually turned out pretty well, but that's not the point. The point is this is how I study these study-level aircraft. Get the FCTM. If the aircraft doesn't come with it, go find it. They're all downloadable if you hunt enough on Google, right? Get the FCTM, read the flight crew training manual as to how an actual crew deals with this aircraft in the key phases of flight. Those, of course, being startup, taxi, line up, takeoff, climb, cruise, descent preparation, descent, approach, landing. Okay? Read it, and then jump in the aircraft, let the aircraft power itself up. Don't worry about all the flight planning and all that palaver. Just put it on the runway, ready to go, the active runway, powered up, ready to go, and try to fly a circuit and try to do it properly. So follow the flight director, set the engines the way they should be, set everything in the cockpit and on the flight deck the way it should be if this were a proper flight. And after you've done that a few times, you'll find yourself very, very competent with it, and then you can start throwing in things like auto flight, and then you can start throwing in things like complex routes and stuff. So I could have flared a bit more there, but overall not bad, I think. Reverses up now. Pretty darn good. I hope this was useful. Don't be daunted by those study level aircraft. They're great fun, but the idea of a study level aircraft is to study it. And that's how I do it. As always, my name is Frugal. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Until next time, I'll see you all very soon.